Welcome to OFOFO Studio. My guest for today is Dr. Kiran Kewalramani. Kiran is one of the most sought after CISOs in entire Australia. We get a lot of requests asking for his fractional intervention. He also leads a company called CyberEthos, who specialize in demystifying all the jargon related to cybersecurity that exists out there. They help small and medium businesses with their cybersecurity functions so those said businesses can focus on their core competencies. Dr. KK, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Angad. Really pleased to be over here today.
Yeah. Let's jump right into it. What are some of the key problems that you see out there related to cybersecurity that small and medium businesses face?
Great question to start off with. Angad, I speak to a lot of businesses, small to medium, medium to large, so on and so forth, and to government as well. And one of the things that I see that's problem across the spectrum, different scale though. So, small to medium-sized business, let's focus on that because that's your question. I feel that a lot of small to medium-sized businesses, whilst they do understand the risks that cybersecurity poses to them, one of the biggest misnomer is that they believe that it's not going to happen to them.
Right.
Or even if they do something, if they do believe that it is going to happen to them, not many businesses actually do something about it.
Right.
So I talk to a lot of businesses. Some of them, they are really concerned that they hold customer data, they hold the staff data, their own banking information, so on and so forth. Their corporate IP, intellectual property, is also on their devices and also in their infrastructure, but they don't know what to do about it. They're really good in what they do, but they don't know how to progress further. So two key problems. Number one, they think it's not going to happen to them. It's going to happen to the next door neighbor. Same way as we saw during COVID period, or COVID's not going to happen to me. It's going to happen to my next door neighbor. My life is not going to be in turmoil. My next door neighbors is going to be, and so on and so forth. So that is one of the common areas that when I speak to businesses, I go, this problem is here and now, specifically into your business. I take you through to a quote that I genuinely believe it's from a gentleman called Ted Schleen. He's the chairman of Ballistic Ventures in California. And his statement that I absolutely love, he goes, there are two types of businesses on the planet. One, that have actually been breached and they know about it. Two, that have been breached and just don't know about it yet.
Perfect.
So all of them fall in that category. And when we speak to businesses, we go through that and we make them understand what the risks are and what do they need to do in order to remediate that risk. Or if they accept that risk, just make that as a very, very, very accepted risk. Be aware of it, be aware of what it is, and then you move forward in your life.
Perfect. Awareness is a very important thing that you just brought up. So you must be talking to a lot of businesses, right? So what is the level of awareness among those businesses that you see right now when it comes to cybersecurity and data privacy? Where do you think the maturity level is at?
Great question. Research shows about 62% of the businesses have a small to medium level of awareness. So they know that there is something that they need to do. It's all over in the media, right? One of the things that's happened in Australia is with the big breaches such as ones that happened to Optus, to Medibank, to Latitude, and so on and so forth. And what comes out in the media, those are the ones that come out in the media, by the way. There are lots that don't come out in the media. There is some sort of an awareness. There is some sort of an awareness around, it's out there. And they are equally at risk. There is a small cohort. Again, they kind of believe that it's, why would a cyber criminal come after me? What kind of data do I have? Why do they even care? But they do care. I mean, think about how many phishing emails do we get on a daily basis? How many scams do we get on a phone call these days? How many text messages do we get? No one's sort of, excluded from this because cyber criminals, it's a numbers game for them.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
And one of the other statements that I pull up, the cyber criminals only need to succeed once in their attack.
Right.
As a business owner on the defense side, you need to succeed 100% of the times.
Oh, for sure.
Because
Yeah.
there's one glitch, there's one instance where you are in the different time zone, a different frame of mind, different time zone if you were traveling, and you clicked on a link that you weren't supposed to click. All of a sudden, you've given the farm away.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. What are some low-hanging fruits that a business can go for, like, to proactively secure themselves? Some easy wins.
The first thing I want to get started with any business owner is to understand what their risk appetite is and what the risk is for their business. There's a significantly large number of business, they don't look at their businesses from a risk perspective.
Right.
Whereas they do from financial risk and health and safety risk and so on and so forth. That's forefront of their mind. They want to make sure that they are trading in a solvent manner.
Yeah.
They're also making sure that, those who work for them, the way they come into work, they go back to their loved ones in the same condition or better. But from the cybersecurity perspective, they don't understand what the risk means to them.
Right.
So that's where we start. We don't talk about cybersecurity at all, like the technical mumbo jumbo and what the solutions could be and what the remediations could be. We start with the risk first. We make them aware what the risks are to their business and what does that mean to their business. I can give you examples where a firm that was trading reasonably well had a cyber incident and all of a sudden they went bust. They didn't even have enough money to go and remediate that, and they went into voluntary administration straight out of that. And there are multiple examples. Those are the ones that we hear about.
Yeah,
there are lots of businesses that we don't hear about at all. So from coming back to the question, we start with the risk. We make them understand, or we discuss with them around what their appetite is and where does cybersecurity fit into the whole big scheme of things.
Right.
Then we start looking at what are some of the key controls they can put into their business. So that could be starting off with the user awareness, the trainings associated with making sure people in their team understand, or their organization understand, that it's their responsibility to make sure that they're not giving the farm away, because otherwise the business owner will be doing everything, and that's not sustainable. The other area that we also focus on with the businesses is to help them articulate the privacy issues and those factors with what's coming in the technology world right now, such as artificial intelligence.
Right.
We all have access to ChatGPT. We all have access to Google Gemini. We all have access to other AI tools. Well, how much information are you actually willingly putting in there, not realizing what you're giving away?
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm a strong advocate of AI. We should be using AI. We should be automating. We should be using machine learning. We should be doing all of that. But the awareness around what kind of information goes in over there. My pet line around that is, AI is a beast. Don't feed the beast.
Right.
Take from the beast.
Right.
So that's another area that when we start with any business, we look at risk, awareness, and privacy matters.
Privacy. So, I mean, that's a very interesting point that you brought up right there, Dr. KK. How do I control the kind of information that is going into public AI, for example, right? I mean, there is there's a whole lot of talk about responsible AI training. But like you just mentioned, I mean, there's not a lot of intervention that goes into what kind of data is being fed into those said models. So, I mean, your thoughts on that? What can be done to make it a lot more streamlined and better?
It needs to happen at multiple levels, right? So there is a government responsibility as well up front. So the government across the globe are coming up with frameworks around what an AI company should be doing, and they can do, can't do, so on and so forth.
Right.
Those frameworks actually dictate the pathway or the guidelines around the AI companies that they need to adhere to.
Right.
But those frameworks take time to come through. AI just came out of this is a genie out of the bottle that's nearly impossible to put it back in the bottle now. And I don't want it to put it back in the bottle. We in 2024 and beyond, and where the future is being forecasted, AI is going to be the way. If you're not using AI, you're going to be out of business really, really soon. So I'm a strong advocate of using AI. But the awareness around what does that mean, how to use that system, how to use that functionality, what information do you put in over there, that comes back to individual responsibility. Governments can roll out the frameworks, government can roll out the guidelines, government can roll out the high level boundaries around what should be going into AI, what should not be going into AI.
Right.
Nevertheless, individual business owners still have a responsibility. A very similar metaphor I can use: the government will tell you, or the roads and transport authorities will tell you, drive in your lane. The rules are, if you're driving a car, these are the lanes you need to drive in. You can't change lanes, but it's your responsibility that you drive safely.
It's a very good analogy.
That's where it comes in from the business ownership perspective and understanding perspective on how they drive this car.
Right.
It's a very powerful car. As one of the a spiritual person that I know and follow says, have you taken out the reader's manual and had a look at it? It's a very complex machine. Take out the reader's manual, have a look, how to operate this vehicle.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about supply chain attacks, Dr. KK, because those are rising, and most of the requests that we get from smaller businesses tend to be around that, because the businesses that we're talking to, they tend to work with larger customers. They tend to work with enterprises, and enterprises have set processes that they need to follow. They get bombarded with questionnaires, and also enterprises are aware of what kind of data is going to them, and how it could be compromised as part of a supply chain attack.
Yep.
What advice would you have for small and medium businesses that wish to work with enterprises?
All right. So, look, supply chain is part of the living now as well. So we all are using Microsoft 365. We all are using Google Cloud or Google Suite, right? So somewhere you're using supply chain, whether you like it or not, you are. Every single business is, right? So it's not a choice anymore. But when you're actually engaging a third party to provide you with a service, as a consumer, as a user of that service, as you're engaging them, ask them the right questions. And what do I mean by that? So, Mr. Google, Mr. Microsoft, Mr. whosoever, the supplier that I'm going to start dealing with, what kind of cybersecurity measures do you have within your business? I'm going to give you my data. I'm going to give you my business's confidential data, my financial data, my corporate data, my SCADA-related information, my operational information. I'm going to feed all that into your system. What controls do you have to make sure that you keep that safe? Because that's part of your responsibility. Two, when we're engaging the supplier, we ask them around what kind of controls do they have as well. Do they do the SOC 1, SOC 2 type reporting? Can I have a look at that? Do your staff members actually do a mandatory cybersecurity training? If there is an incident that happens within my supply chain or within my service, what kind of notification will I get? When will I get it? What kind of resources do you have to support that? When will I be operational? All these kind of questions are really, really important. And if a business and if a supplier does not have that, I cannot answer that, I suggest you steer away, because it's only a matter of time. As the saying goes, it's not if you're going to get attacked, it's when.
When, yeah.
Or you may already be attacked, you just don't know about it yet, as Techleen said.
Yeah. So, Dr. KK, at the back, I see a very interesting graphic that's going on. It looks very comprehensive. I can see the bubbles, but I don't see what's inside of them. Can you take us through all of the things that are there?
Sure, not a problem. I'll look back and refer to it. So this is our organization. These are the types of services that we offer to our clients. And I'll quickly take you through what these bubbles mean and what they actually are.
Yes.
So I'll start off with the advisory service, which is what it says. The top one over here that says Cybersecurity Advisory Service. This is quite a suite of services that we offer. So that will include the virtual CISO service as well. We probably will talk a little bit more about that, unpack that a little bit more. But an organization could come in on a specific matter and go, hey, we are trying to engage a new vendor. Hey, we are trying to do blah, whatever that blah is. Can you come in and help us and give us some advisory around how we move forward on this one? What's the most secure way that we do that? Because once you start driving this car, it's going to be a bit hard to take a U-turn out of that and chuck and come back around that. So that's one. That's part of our advisory service, and that it spans out a lot more further down in there as well. The next one I'll look at that on the left from my side is governance, risk, and compliance. That one is more around all the frameworks, the best practices that are out there that we help our clients with. Multiple things. Number one, we look at Essential 8, which is Australian Cybersecurity's 8 strategies that we work with our businesses to get them through the different maturity levels. That's quite mandatory these days, right?
Yeah.
So Australian Cybersecurity Centre is quite prescriptive around all businesses in Australia should be aiming towards, small businesses should be aiming towards maturity level 1. And there are 8 strategies, and there are different components in those 8 strategies around what complies with the essential maturity level 1. For an ASX listed company or a larger size enterprise, they would go with maturity level 2.
Right.
And for government and defense and so on and so forth, that's maturity level 3. Now, essentially, the way it's structured, it's a very Microsoft-focused service. So if you're using Microsoft services, it's quite very clear in the way it's actually articulating what those maturity levels are.
Yeah.
We then look at also overarchingly around other standards as well, like ISO 27001. Now, CyberEthos helps our clients to get ready for the ISO 27001 assessments. So an accreditation and so on and so forth. Or if they don't want to go through accreditation, we will help them align to the best practice out of that. ISO 27001 is a pretty comprehensive standard. So we look at what the fit for purpose for that particular organization is and what gives them the biggest bang for their buck from ISO 27000. We also help our clients with NIST framework as well. So whether they're looking at aligning to that, whether they're a global company that is US based and needs to align to that, so on and so forth, we help them with NIST audit as well. There's another framework that we are partnered up with. That's recently been developed by CSEAU, which is a body here. It's an industry body over here in Australia. It's called SMB 1001 standard. Now, what that standard is about, it actually has taken the best out of all the frameworks and put it into a specific framework that is very targeted towards the small to medium-sized businesses. And there are multiple layers of it. So there is a bronze, silver, gold, if you want to go through that. And the directors of the business can do the self-attestation associated with that to ensure that they're not looking at Essential 8 and ISO 27001 and NIST, and it gets quite overwhelming in a lot of ways. SMB 1001 clearly narrows it down to go, if you're a small business, these are the controls that you can implement and you can get a certain level of certification. If you want to go beyond the gold standard, if you want to go to the platinum standard and beyond, then you need an auditor to do that. But we help businesses get up to gold, and we are also partnered with CSEAU, so we can actually help businesses go beyond gold should they choose to do so. And that's a relatively new standard, but I'm a strong advocate of it, because from a small to medium-sized business, they don't have the capacity or the capability to adapt the whole lot.
For sure,
they are better off looking at, give me a truncated version. Give me what is fit for purpose for me. Give me my t-shirt size, whether it's small, medium, large. Give me my t-shirt size so I can just solely focus on that, and we help businesses around that. So that's the governance, risk, and compliance. The other one is around the virtual CISO as a service, which is, we've separated that out from the advisory specifically because we work with a lot of small businesses and go, you need someone from a cybersecurity leadership or an executive role into your business. And the first comment I hear, Kiran, those roles are like $250,000, $300,000 worth. We can't afford that, so on and so forth. This service is predominantly around, well, you don't need to have someone 5 days a week.
Right.
Have someone half a day a week. Have someone a day a week. That's all that it takes. But you have someone who is on your side, wearing your t-shirt, talking to your suppliers, and creating that cybersecurity culture within your organization. Because that is something that will allow them to improve their posture as they go along. It's an ongoing journey. It's not a do it once and forget about it. It's something that they need to chip away all the time, because this cyber crime industry is so dynamic, it's so fast moving. You need to have someone on your side all the time. If you can't afford 5 days, not a problem. Have someone half a day. Have someone 3/4 of a day. So on and so forth. Someone who's taking this agenda head on and driving this bull forward, from your organization perspective. Moving along, the bottom one is cybersecurity at the board. As we all know, Gone are the days where cybersecurity was a technical issue or a technology matter, and they would look at the CIO going, "Hey, it's your problem. Why are you even talking to us about it, wasting our
Yeah.
time?"
Yeah.
It's now become a board problem.
Absolutely.
So, as a company director graduate from Australian Institute of Company Directors, from the board perspective, boards
Mm-hmm.
got two key areas that they focus on, right? One is the strategy, the other one is the risk.
Right.
If I now unpack the risk aspect, previously there were two risks that a board director will be awake at night. Number
Right.
one is the financial risk, which means is the company solvent? Is it trading financially sustainably?
Yeah.
Because if they're not, there's personal liabilities associated with the director. The other one is the health and safety, as I mentioned earlier. Are all the people within their organization, are they coming into work physically and mentally safe, and are they going back home physically and mentally safe back to their loved ones? Those
Yeah.
were the two risks that the boards were predominantly interested in from the risk bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Cybersecurity has crept in. It's
Yeah.
now become the number one risk. It's above finance risk, it's above health and safety risk. Because guess what? It does have an impact on both of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there's a cybersecurity incident in an organization, then, and if there's a financial impact, it will impact the finances.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, what happened to one of the companies that I was referring to earlier on, they were financially insolvent, went bust.
Hmm.
And cybersecurity does cause a lot of stress.
Oh, for sure.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. People who are directly working in there, if you don't know what you're doing in that arena, you're operating that complex beast or trying to deal with that, you're not in a good mental or physical state. So
Absolutely.
again, it's now the number one risk for our
Yeah.
board. We go into the boards, we sit on the table, and we work with the boards in educating them so they can make informed decisions. We sit at the audit and risk committee meetings, and we provide the board and the audit and risk committee, the chair and the other board members, guidance around how they should be tackling that particular risk around that. We also look at, because all the organizations go through some level of audit, and part of that could be a technology audit, part of that could be a cyber audit as well. We help them not only do the audit, but also help them with remediating those action items that come out of the audits, so on and
Nice.
so forth, right?
Yeah.
Next one is around the cybersecurity education and training. Education is the key. Awareness is the key. Unless, the saying that human factor is the weakest link in cybersecurity, that's reasonably true. Because we can put in all the state-of-the-art infrastructure, the technology at the peripheral level, and have the defense in depth and so on and so forth in any organization. If the organizational people aren't trained in the aspects of phishing and scamming and what business emails, compromises that happen and so on and so forth, they've given the farm away.
Right.
So we want to make sure we go in there, we tackle that human element in there, make it something that they can relate to. And some of the skill sets that we pass on, people can take it to their homes as well. They can talk to their family members and say, hey, by the way, if you get an email from me, but if you look at the email, the actual email address, and that's not mine, be very conscious.
Right.
We also take it beyond just the corporate stuff as well. When we talk about, the facts of deep fake and those scams that happen around that, we talk about that in the training as well. Helps people not only from the corporate perspective, but also in their personal life as well. That's part of that. And the last bubble over here that I want to talk about is around the critical infrastructure, right? I come from a water background. I think if you spoke to me about 7 or 8 years ago, I would go, operational technology, SCADA, what's the big thing? It is the biggest thing. I reckon if someone takes your corporate details and so on and so forth, yes, there is pain. Yes, there is financial implications. Yes, there is financial frauds that could happen out of that and so on and so forth. But if someone attacks the SCADA and the operational technology, it's a direct impact to life.
Absolutely.
What do I mean by that? You look at the hospitals, you look at the water, you look at the power, you look at the supply chain. When I talk about supply chain, the supermarkets and so on and so forth around that. If their systems get impacted, they are directly supporting life. There could be, if those systems go down, if they're impacted for an extended period of time, one would see a civil war, a significant catastrophic damage that can happen to the economy, to the life, and to that particular area, wherever it impacts. There are multiple instances of what has already occurred in the SCADA space. You look at the Colonial instance that happened a couple of years ago. In Queensland, there was Callide Power Station that went down for an extended period of time. You look at what's happening in internationally in Ukraine and Russia instance as well. A lot of the SCADA or operational technology stuff that gets impacted around that arena. So we focus on that. Not many people who have experience in that. We do with our background, with my background that I bring onto the table. We can go in with the mining businesses, so on and so forth. We can go in there and assist with what their SCADA and OT posture looks like, and improve that, because that's where the crown jewels are. For that particular organization, that's where the crown jewels are. That's what is the revenue generation. That's what keeps people employed. That's what keeps that company going.
Absolutely, man. Like, those are one of the lesser known things that people talk about. Like, with SCADA and control systems, it's very, you can understand the kind of impact that they'd have. Like, just going by some of the movies that talk about these, but again, like, it's very hard for people to bring about a link that connects the actual human life to an incident that could just stop a machine at a point in time.
100%. I'll give an example from my past life in water entity, right?
Please.
Water is life. There is a significant amount of technology that is usually in place from when a water comes out of a dam to a reservoir, to how it's actually treated to make it drinkable or what we call potable water, to how it shows up in the tap. People can pull out water from the tap and drink it straight up. Imagine what would happen if those control mechanisms that put the chemicals in the water to make it drinkable, if those get
compromised,
played around with, or compromised, you could actually make the water poison.
Oh, for sure. Oh my God.
And what impact will that have on a human being? I mean, it would be no different to what happened during COVID when people were trying to head into the hospitals and there were just inundation. The systems aren't geared up to cater for that level of scale. The medical systems, the hospital systems, one thing will lead to the other. So we live in an interconnected world these days. A glitch over here and a compromise over here will have a significant COGS event over in the whole economy and eventually life.
Absolutely, man. That sounds incredibly dystopian. Let's switch gears.
Switch
gears, Dr. KK. Let's focus on you. Help me with your personal motivations. What made you think that this is a problem that you should be going after? And also, please tell us about some of the companies that you work with. Sure.
Look, when I graduated out of my engineering, my first experience in cybersecurity wasn't called cybersecurity at that time, was in the year 2001. So I worked for a small company called Telstra.
Very small.
Very small. So at that time, I was actually working, and they had rolled out for their clients, they'd rolled out an antivirus system that they called it a security system, one of the big US-based companies, and all the logs from those endpoints were coming into a centralized server, and then was projected up on the screen. For all practical purposes, I was sitting on what's called a SOC these days. It was called just a help desk, a security help desk, right? But same concept. My first interaction with security was over there. And I quite liked it. But it got a little bit, I wanted to sort of learn a lot more about it. So I moved on from that desk, sitting on the desk, 2000 SOC, into learning more about the networking side of things and the firewalls and so on and so forth, and how do they work, and so I was quite interested in that, and I did my stints in those areas as well. So I was quite hands-on technical during that period of time. But then I moved on from there. I focused more on the management and moved on into the into project management, and that route I took during my career spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
During that period of time, security was always a major thing.
Right.
From more firewalls
Yeah.
perspective, making sure that people weren't putting out, downloading stuff on their devices
Right. Right. Right.
that was so every corporate organization that I was part of
Yep.
had some level of antivirus protection,
Right. Right.
the traditional antivirus protection,
Right.
and so on and so forth. So that's how my security journey started. When I moved on, and I was part of the government for
Mm-hmm.
state government in Australia for an extended period of time. That's where a lot of my experience has been.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I was sort of more involved in the projects that were involved with the data center security, and making sure that we were doing the resilience around the business continuity plan and the disaster recovery plan, which one would go, well, how is that security related? Well, it
Yeah.
directly is, because when there is a cybersecurity incident, it's no different in actual impact. It's no different to that infrastructure or that service going down,
Right.
and that's not available. So I got the whole business continuity aspect out of that
Mm-hmm.
into the spectrum as well. I moved on from there, and in 2017, I was actually appointed the CIO of a Chief Information Officer for a water board
Nice.
in Queensland. And because of the background that I had, and given that I understood what impact of a security incident could be
Yeah.
in a critical infrastructure, I actually implemented a security mechanism for that water body. I can't go into the details, obviously, but there was a robust security mechanism that was put in over for that entity,
Okay.
to make sure that we were doing the best we could from the perspective of protecting water and water
Right.
supply and so on and so forth. Then at that time, I was so passionately driven in every and cybersecurity became a thing at that time.
What year is this? What?
This is 2017 is when I started. I'm talking
Okay.
now COVID period. So
All right.
2019 to 2020, I mean, sorry. Cybersecurity became a big thing because everyone was
Yeah.
then starting to work remotely. And, what started off with the first instance of ransomware was WannaCry, if you remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was involved, or I was sort of providing some guidance around how to deal with WannaCry and so on and so forth. But around the COVID period, cybersecurity became a big thing. So we had implemented further controls, and the government started getting a lot serious about that as well. So at that time, the Australian government rolled out or drafted what is now called the Security of Critical Infrastructure Act, which is SOCI Act
Okay.
for Australia. As a CIO for a water entity, which was critical infrastructure, I contributed towards development of that act. So I provided guidance around what does it mean from the water entity perspective, what does it mean from a regional perspective, so on and so forth, to make sure that the act was reasonably robust and was catering not just to the metro cities but also to the regional areas as well. Because Australia is a pretty big landmass.
Oh, for
And
sure. Yeah.
you get different type of services and availability of resources as you move between places. Metro places have a lot more availability and so on, but the other areas probably not so much. So how do we have one framework, one act that spans across all the big landmass? So I
Yeah.
did contribute towards that. In 2021, I was actually listed in one of the top 50 CIOs in Australia. So that was a pinnacle moment for me, and I think
Wow.
a moment in time where I thought, well, I've been moving towards becoming the CIO for a large chunk of my professional journey. I've achieved that, and now I'm in the top 50 as well. So where to from here?
Yeah.
So I did what an entrepreneur does. I quit my well-paying job, and I said I will do. If I can do it for one company, why am I not spreading this around?
Right.
And
right.
I then moved on to starting CyberEthos. As part of that engagement, then I started working with one of the second largest or the largest, whichever way you look at it, for a Queensland government department, and I ended up becoming their Chief Information Security Officer as an interim one. I helped them put together their strategy for the next period of time. That was a significantly big gig. I was I joke around, and I even joke around when I speak to those people still, when I'm still in contact with them, and go, I came to you, I was only 21. By the time I finished after a year, I was 85. But it was it was a pretty big remit, and a lot more rewarding as well, because I could see the changes from cyber perspective. It was a lot oriented with data privacy and so on and so forth. It was with Department of Education in Queensland. So the scale I'm talking about is more than 600,000 students.
Oh my
I'm
God.
talking about more than 100,000 teachers and principals. I was talking about 1,400 plus schools. I'm talking about 100,000 staff. There was a significant amount of data that we had to protect, because one would go, well, okay, well, what does that mean from a cyber perspective? The impacts that it could have on someone who is younger in age, their data is there's a lot of serious impacts that could have around that as well. So I was intimately involved, and I was accountable and responsible for making sure that their information is protected and so on and so forth. Then we scale across multiple organizations. So we've got clients that are reasonably small. I even do trainings for the young entrepreneurs as well. So there are organizations that or people who are just starting on their entrepreneurial journey. I'm planting the cyber seed in them up front.
That's amazing, man.
I don't want them to kind of think about cyber as part of as a retrospective thing. I want them to think about cyber in the forefront of everything that they do. Whether they are a small business, whether they're a tech business, whether they're entrepreneur, and whatever business they're doing, cyber is going to be an in part of that, and part of a program where I do training sessions with young entrepreneurs who are starting their business as part of a business program. I do that. I also am part of a board for a not-for-profit, which is more around helping those entrepreneurs butt up their systems and so on. So giving them a little bit of a head start around how they could set up their businesses and so on and so forth. I'm on the board for them to make sure that I guide those people as well. Even if they're not coming through a structured program, they're getting the guidance and advisory from that perspective as well.
Fantastic.
From cyber. And my passion for cyber is so beyond this. I think that I talk about cyber all the time, that when my previous job, they used to say, if you don't say the word cyber at least 3 times in half an hour, we will send out the health practitioners to you because something is not right. I then recently finished up my PhD as well in cybersecurity. So, that's one area I am strongly passionate about. The vision for CyberEthos is this. We want to Uberize cybersecurity for every business on the planet. It does not matter what size you are. It does not matter what your drivers are for your business and so on and so forth. You need to have cybersecurity to you, and we will deliver it for you. It doesn't matter what you can afford. We will make sure that you get the best cybersecurity you need in your business for whatever it takes. Part of social cause in there, and part of making sure every business on this planet is cyber secure.
I love the drive, Dr. KK. I mean, I only wish we had more people like you.
Right. I'm on a mission. I'm a man on a mission, and I will not stop till the time I achieve that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, what's on the future roadmap for you?
Mate, a lot of exciting things. A lot of exciting things are coming through. We are working with our clients to not only develop a specific program for them around what is fit for purpose, and helping them develop their roadmap around that. So you don't need to spend thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop a strategy, or tens of thousands of dollars. We can do that relatively quickly. Nice. Secondly, what we do for any business that comes to us, right? We give them a free audit.
Nice.
No obligation, no charge, no nothing. I will sit with them and make sure that they understand. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey of business. We will do that for you. Absolutely no cost, free of charge. The other thing that we are also looking at doing from our business is to bring that awareness to the boards as well, a lot more. Because I think that's one area that is not as moving as fast as it should. Right. Whilst the cybersecurity is coming from bottom up within the organization, in the management level, what it's not coming as fast as I would like to see it from the board level down.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of talks. Recently I did a talk from that was sponsored by University of New South Wales to a multiple cohort of executives around how they could implement cybersecurity in their business, and some of them were board members as well, because
Right.
they were either considering to do an executive MBA or they were a graduate of an executive MBA program,
Yeah.
and I did a talk to them last year or earlier this year. Sorry, I did a lot of talks in India as well. So I flew down over there, and then we did about 4 or 5 sessions where we spoke to multiple cohorts. One of the key
Nice.
passion that I have is not only the executive and the corporate level, is to build the next generation workforce as well. There are about 4 million jobs vacant at the moment in cybersecurity, and so we need to make sure we have the cohort that's ready to take that I can pass this role to once I get towards the next phase of my life. I want to make sure that's passed on to the next generation. So I do a lot of talks to the university graduates or those who are trying to get into cybersecurity. We give them the pathway, and I bring them on as interns as well to give them practical experience and then transition them into a job.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So on that note, Dr. KK, I'd like to conclude the podcast. I really look forward to the next episode for this. I want to catch up with you again. And like I said, I mean, the passion like that flowed through the conversation. I mean, that's something that cannot be faked. And please, Dr. KK, don't change.
No, I won't, mate. Till the time I am breathing,
Yeah.
I think I came with that. That is my position in life. I think that's the purpose of my life. I think I found my, as they say in Japanese, I found my ikigai.
Absolutely, man. And we're glad you did. All right.
Thanks, Angad. I really appreciate, and I hope your listeners enjoy this podcast as well. And I look forward to catching to you in round 2.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Angad. Cheers.